Welcome to Meet the Developers podcast series, a segment where we let you hear directly from some of the top developers themselves, dive into their DNA and vision, address FAQs, and ultimately help align you with the best developer that suits your investment needs. Today we're joined by Ayda from Expo City Dubai, where sustainability is at the forefront of their projects. Ayda, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Rennie. A pleasure being on the show.
Thank you. Ayda, let's dive right in. Quick one for you then. What is Expo City Dubai?
All right, so Expo City is a big global name that's known by all. So during our Expo 2020, we had over 24 million people attend, 200 million online visits. So that really put our Expo on the map as one of the greatest expos that has happened in history of the Expo. Now, we are a government developer. His Highness Sheikh Ahmed bin Saeed Al Maktoum is our chairman. Her Excellency Reem Al Hashimi is our CEO. So we are government and government backed as well.
See, that's really interesting for me because first of all, there's quite a few different developers that are either semi-government or fully government developers, you know, in Dubai and operating. But right. I think some of the key figures that you mentioned here behind this particular project is almost so instrumental in terms of the leadership and being, you know, part of the kind of royal family essentially, but also being really immersed into the project because from some of our previous conversations, you've also mentioned that they're very kind of hands-on in terms of the involvement in the project, right?
Yeah, so there's a lot of focus on this area. That's why we're constantly hearing news about Expo, announcements about Expo. You know, they're really enhancing the area. A lot of fundings are going to the area. And this is also one of the 5 locations of His Highness's 2040 vision, which is another reason of why they have this tunnel vision into the Expo area and into the South area in general, and Expo being the center of that vision.
And I think we've had so many conversations, it seems to be like the buzzword around town now is about Dubai South as a whole, and that's largely just because not only what Expo's already been doing over the last kind of year, 18 months almost, but I think if you look at the other developers that are also kind of operating in that space now, you've got the likes of EMA who've got 4 communities launched in that area, you have Damak, you have MAG, you have all these other developers operating here now and kind of moving their projects towards this side. I guess with view that Dubai is shifting a little bit closer to Abu Dhabi and Abu Dhabi is kind of closing in on Dubai, really kind of closing that gap.
Yeah, so if you think about it, this is not the first time this happens in history. I mean, Dubai was more towards the downtown area back in the day, and then they launched the Palm Jumeirah. You had the Emirates Hills that were considered more towards Abu Dhabi and the end of Dubai. Now with the shift, we're seeing that Emirates Hills and Palm Jumeirah are considered somehow towards the center. And then the shift is happening again with the relaunch of the Palm Jebel Ali. You're seeing Expo and then the opening of the largest airport in the world, Al Maktoum Airport. And that is why now developers, they are developing around that area because it's the only smart decision. I mean, now you're getting really good plot prices where developers are being able to build instead of going more in the developed areas where it's way more expensive to build. And these are what are going to give the clients that are buying now the highest appreciation. It's always better in buying in an emerging community. Like imagine buying in downtown 10, 15 years ago, you know, or in Emirates Hills when it was just starting. The once called new communities are now the most prime locations and the highest appreciation has been shown there. So the same thing is expected to happen in the areas towards the south.
See, I completely agree with you. What I find really special, and I suppose part of the magic about Expo City Dubai more so, is that a lot of it is already built. You know, it's kind of almost, yes, you're buying off plan, so to speak, but the community already exists, right? Could you talk our audience through the community itself?
This is explained by a quote that was mentioned during the closing ceremony of the Expo 2020. So they said, this is not the end, but a new beginning. This is a huge statement of how the government has a vision for the future of Expo City as a whole, whether it was in terms of businesses, real estate, commercial and entertainment, or it being the next center of Dubai's future. So that is why we're looking at a lot of things happening in Expo. Already infrastructure that was spent on 37 billion dirhams just till date, without even the investments we're paying on the real estate, without the new announcements, without the upgrades that we're making. So that's a huge investment that they made, and for sure it wasn't just for the 6 months of the Expo 2020
No,
event.
absolutely. Yeah.
So they are thinking of it in the long term. They know what's coming towards the south. They're anticipating the population increase that's coming by 2040. I mean, the traffic now is becoming increasingly unbearable towards the center of Dubai.
Absolutely.
And knowing that you have communities that are now future-proof in terms of the traffic. I mean, we hosted 24 million people. This is a huge amount of people coming to one area. So the roads were requested for the RTA to make them accessible from anywhere around Dubai. So you're not going to face any traffic there.
Yeah.
You have already infrastructure where you don't have to wait years and years, especially when you're buying in new communities. Usually investors are hesitant to buy in a new community because after they get the key, they're going to have to wait 5, 6, 8 years for commercial entertainment mall events to happen in the area. In Expo, it's completely different. Where we actually have everything ready for you. The minute you move in, you're ready to rent it at good value. You're ready to have good capital appreciation. And as an end user, you're ready to live in it and enjoy all the facilities that it has to provide.
Yeah, and I think that is I think you almost kind of pick what's most important to you when you're buying off plan. And I think sometimes when you're getting in quite early on a new master community, we should say, you kind of bear the brunt of, yes, you're getting the lowest entry point, I'd argue, in terms of price point. However, you're waiting for that community to start to take shape. Now, that might be in the shape of food and beverage outlets, that might be cafes or hospitals or schools, all of that, important community elements that make up a development. Now, what's really special, as you and I both know, with this particular community is that a lot of it is already there, readily accessible, to the point that I think there's about 35 restaurants that you can choose from today before any single resident has moved into any of these projects we've been selling over the last kind of 18 months, which is really special. And then in addition to that, you have a lot of these employees, because another big one which perhaps is overlooked and people don't quite understand is, whilst it is residential, the commercial element of it definitely plays a big part to the community, as well as the mere fact that it is a free zone area. Could you tell our audience a little bit more about what that looks like?
So what's the free zone going to do to this area? It's going to attract local businesses, international businesses. A lot of companies have already moved into Expo City, and this is going to really help our investors today who are planning, for example, to rent out their properties. So that's going to give them a huge demand for all the employees living in the area. If the demand of all the employees of Expo City is not enough, imagine the amount of workforce that's going to come from Al Maktoum Airport as well, where the white-collar employees. So, for example, some of the companies that have already moved in, like Siemens, Terminus, DP World, the first and one of the most important companies in Dubai, has already announced their move into Expo City.
That's
so
amazing.
Imagine all the families, the employees that are coming from that company alone that are going to benefit all of our investors today. So yeah, the businesses are very important in the area. I mean, if you look at areas that are now considered to be prime in Dubai, you'll see that there's businesses. It's a mix of commercial and residential. It's not just residential areas, because the more you have commercial spaces, the more you're able to have all your needs met. Whether you want nurseries for your children, you want to go walking distance to a school or a hospital, you want to have restaurants where you don't have to drive 20 minutes to have breakfast with your family. So these are very important aspects, and the fact that Expo has it today before a single resident moves in, and we're preparing throughout that time that we're building the properties for our clients to just prepare that infrastructure for them in terms of sports facilities, commercial, even with the exhibition center opening up. This is going to be one of the most important locations for all short-term rentals as well.
Yeah, naturally. And we'll touch on the importance of the airport and so on quite shortly. But I think if you kind of break down, and maybe you and I can brainstorm this, but when you talk about master communities and what is important to people, if you look at the key ingredients, you could say, and you're right, a lot of it has to be somewhat mixed use. So you have the normal residential, which makes up, the core pillar of any community. But I think over and beyond that, And I always like to use an example of like Dubai Hills Estate, which is a good example of an end-to-end master community, because you got the residences, you got the golf course, which is like a big pool, not necessarily for avid golf fans themselves, but just the fact that it offers a bit of greenery. It has the park, it has the mall, and it has business parks, right? So a lot of that we have in Expo City Dubai as well. But as you and I both know, you kind of then throw in the mix for good measure Al Wasl Dome, which is a huge, not only a big pillar of, you know, that community itself, but a big tourist attraction that will literally draw crowds from all over the world due to the concerts and festivals that take place there. I mean, you probably have the pleasure of seeing it every single day, but for people who didn't visit during Expo themselves, I mean, what does Al Wasl Dome mean to the community?
So Al Wasl Dome is a Guinness World Record largest immersive dome in the world. I mean, now it has become a landmark in the UAE. And if you look at communities where you buy next to landmarks, it's always a good idea.
Sure.
I mean, landmark or beachfront, you know, that's what everybody knows or talks about, not just here, but it's an international
all over the
demand.
world,
Yeah. So Al Wasl Dome is that for us in Expo. It's what's connecting all of Expo City together. So Al Wasl Dome, Al Wasl means connectivity or connect in Arabic. And that is why it's the heart of Expo. It's walking distance. It's around 7-minute walk from all the community, since Expo City as a whole is a 15-minute city, where it takes you maximum 15 minutes from one end to another, and the middle of that end is Al Wasl Dome. Now, another thing about that infrastructure and having these facilities that are ready, such as Al Wasl Dome, we have kept some of the biggest attractions from the Expo 2020, which of course had tremendous success. Like Terra, the sustainability pavilion, which you even find on a new 500 dirhams note, a big testimony from the government on the importance of Expo. You'll also find the mobility pavilion that's right next to some of our Sky Residence that we currently have inventory in. So these attractions plus the surreal waterfalls, these are walking distance from the residents. So if you think like downtown, the fact that Burj Khalifa or Dubai Mall is walking distance from you, the prices there are huge. Tourists love it.
Of course.
You know, when you're putting on Airbnb, like waterfalls, 5 minutes walk, largest immersive dome, buggy services that are available for you. You know, I would love to see that if I'm traveling abroad. If I see this in the description, listen, this is the property which is staying. I want me and the family to be here. So that's why these are very, very important for all investors and for our end users, where even me personally, as someone that would live in Expo, I want to be able to walk to these locations. And the fact that our community is a pedestrianized community, this is also another very important factor, where you can commute by foot, you can commute by bikes, scooters, or our buggies, which is completely free of charge for everyone that comes to Expo, whether you're a resident or even a guest as well.
And I think that kind of really emphasizes the element of kind of sustainability, because in my personal opinion, I feel that sustainability is almost a word thrown around too lightly these days. And very few, I'd say, actually offer some substance behind, the actual word. What does that look like? A lot of projects are sworn to be sustainable, but, what infrastructure is in place to support that theory? And I think with this particular project, it does seem to be a key pillar of the actual project itself, right, from end to end. And that's not just in terms of, we're saying we're green, it's actually showing that. And, we can touch on this a little bit more, but you have some of the pavilions that are solar panel operated, the fact that it's pedestrianized, that works twofold, right? It means there's less traffic in the actual area, so you have cleaner air to breathe in, but at the same time, it makes for a safer community. As somebody with children myself, knowing that I can let my children run freely, and Dubai is, we all know here, is one of the safest places on earth anyway, but now with no kind of distractions or disruption from cars, be it the noise, be it the pollution, or be it from a safety element, I think that's a big wow factor for any particular end user who's looking to secure a property for themselves. But I think even if you look at the investment side of it, of course, it does make for a nicer community. And then the trouble and, you know, the drawback that a lot of people would then have, and that was my initial reaction, was, okay, if there's no cars, how do I get from A to B? Because it's no secret here, you know, the summer months could get quite hot, right? So it's like, how do you navigate that? But having all these modes of transport readily available, paid for by the developer, you know, extra cost to you is something really special. We just don't see it here, do we?
Yeah, so honestly, look, why are now people opting to buy more of new properties rather than older buildings? You know, they're thinking of their investment as a long-term thing, right? Yeah. So they're thinking, okay, if I'm gonna buy a property that has been there for the past 10 years, I want to keep it, let's say, for the next 10 years as well.
Sure.
Nobody's gonna want it by the time I'm done with it.
Yeah.
You know, so now the concept of sustainability is not a topic we can ignore anymore. You know, the whole world is moving towards this is the future.
Yeah.
We need to be more sustainable. We need to, you know, realize our carbon footprint. We need to help the planet as much as possible, or else we're going to lose the most important thing to us. And this is what the government is focusing on today. You will see it in the 2033 vision. You will see it in the 2040 vision.
Sure.
It is all over Dubai.
Absolutely.
And Expo is the first stepping stone of that sustainability in the country.
And, and we saw the COP28 being held there for that very same reason,
King
right?
Charles, Bill Gates was there. It was a huge event. So we are the first community that runs on 100% renewable energy, thanks to the solar panel field for His Highness. Amazing. We have 45,000 square meters of parks that are already there. So you've mentioned Dubai Hills Estate, how it's a mix of parks and commercial, and it really does increase the value when you have that much greenery. We are reducing the degrees of temperature in the community by the help of nature as well. We reduce electricity and water bills also by the help of solar panels. It's very rare to name communities in Dubai that provide this service.
Absolutely.
Very rare to name, because Expo is the first community that's providing it to that extent.
Yeah.
Yes, there are some communities that do have concepts of sustainability, but in terms of modernization, Expo is doing it like no other community or infrastructure in Dubai right now.
I agree. It does really feel like they're the trailblazer for that, you know, sense of sustainability. So look, we've touched on the key elements of sustainability itself, but breaking down the DNA of the project itself. I mean, sustainability is clearly one of the key pillars, but what else is the kind of true value behind the project?
So Expo is not your typical community that's built just for the residential aspect. It's a community that has a human-centric purpose, which is very important to us as a developer and very important to the government to send this message very straight about Expo City Dubai. It's meant to keep people inspired, active, connected. I mean, just stepping foot in Expo, you automatically get that different feel of like, this looks like it's gonna be big.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure
you
and the team of House and House,
Absolutely.
you know, you already know about this. So, yeah, this is the core DNA. We want to make it, we focus on the well-being of people. That's why it's the only community in the whole region that is well certified, which is a huge certification to get. This focuses on, so we do have farms inside Expo, a renewable source of energy and food, which is very important for a human life.
Sure.
You will have co-working spaces all around where you can create in our community. You can walk around with the family in our community. Children are a very important aspect of the community. Every single year, we have hundreds of schools that come to Expo City, do tours, get to learn about sustainability, greenery. So we're really doing something different for the future of Dubai as a whole, the future of the children, the future of the youth, which you will also see that Expo City puts a lot of importance in, not just now, but since the start of the Expo 2020. This was a very big aspect of why they wanted to keep that infrastructure for the future of Dubai.
Yeah, no, and you touched on kind of the farms and so on. What a lot of few of my clients, particularly from Europe, have always been really impressed with is the fact that you have that organic farm and you have your own allotment space and you can grow your own fruit and vegetables. I mean, little things like that, which I guess if you're from Europe or perhaps elsewhere, you're probably a little bit more used to, and it's not something you kind of almost forget that is a thing when you've lived here, perhaps as long as I do. But a lot of clients, you know, really enjoy that element of it, because if you are be it for yourself or, you're raising your children or, you've got a family. It's being able to kind of instill these sort of values and being able to show people that, these are the kind of luxuries that are afforded sometimes elsewhere because of the kind of the weather and the climate. But we're able to do all of these things with almost no restrictions, with the safety, with it being pedestrianized, with it being kind of renewable energy resources and so on in one place. And we're going to touch on the location in a moment, but I think a lot of people would almost, and maybe we could tackle this now. A lot of people talk about Expo as being far away. Now, in my opinion, I think all over Dubai and the UAE as a whole, we kind of look at the universal reference point of Dubai seems to be the Burj Khalifa, right? The biggest landmark. And that's fair because it's downtown. But I often ask people, when you say that something's far, far from what exactly, right? Like, how often do you go to the Burj Khalifa for that to be your reference point? And I think, you lived a few years like I have. I probably go once a year, if that. And that's usually because I've got family over and I'm showing them around town, right? Yeah. So I suppose a better question is, how close is Expo for your kind of day-to-day lifestyle, be it your school or hospital work?
Yeah. So actually the idea of Expo being far is a very big misconception, So in general, I don't think anything in Dubai is far, no matter where you are. I mean, if you live anywhere around the world, you will not have such a good connectivity and infrastructure for roads like Dubai. I mean, you can get anywhere in 25 minutes.
Yeah.
If you're in Jebel Ali, you want to get to downtown around 25 to 30 minutes, even in Expo. So it is a very big misconception that we're far. Expo is the beginning of Dubai South. So with all the traction that's happening there, we are the beginning. So you reduce that distance from you going anywhere inside Dubai when you live in Expo City.
Yeah.
On top of that, the only community with a metro station between the whole 311 and 611 road. So you can get anywhere by metro, which takes you around 30 minutes to go to downtown or Dubai Mall or wherever. It's amazing. And on top of that, 15 minutes from the seaside, 15 minutes from Dubai Marina. So in 1 hour, you can get all the way to Abu Dhabi or to Sharjah. So it is actually, so when you're talking about the center, think about it like this. If I am someone that wants to really be at the center, not just of the city, but you have two major cities, which is Abu Dhabi, Dubai, or three, let's say, and Sharjah. Expo would literally be the center of all of that if you connect them all together. You know, and that is what the government wanted to do with the location of Expo, with the start of the Expo 2020. Expo 2020 was not a Dubai thing.
No,
you know, it was for the whole country. So they wanted the center of that country, and it was Expo City. So the location is absolutely perfect if you want hospitals and schools. We already have hospitals and schools already, and this is a new concept in Dubai. If you look at major master communities, downtown, Palm Jebel Ali, Dubai Marina, you don't find these. You don't find the hospitals and schools. So yes, Dubai has, they've done it, fairly new community. You have Expo City that's doing it as well. And right next to us, DIP, Arjan, JVC, Motor City, Studio City, everything from these communities delivered directly into Expo City.
Amazing.
And they have plenty of hospitals and schools that you can enjoy as well, 5 minutes away.
And that's just it. And then again, going back onto the kind of master community is the mere fact that you have like an endless list of almost anything you need. It's almost its own ecosystem, right? You have no reason to leave if you didn't need to, right? So just to kind of almost very quickly highlight them all. So we got the residences, and that's in the shape of, I know we got Expo Valley, which is the townhouses, the semi-detached townhouses, and the villas and mansions themselves, right? And then you got the apartments. So we've had 2 launches already, the Mangroves and Sky Residences, and I'm sure you're going to touch on some new projects shortly. And then outside of that, you have the Wasl Dome, which you very eloquently told our audience about, the largest immersive dome in the world, so on and so forth. And then in addition to that, you have the pocket parks. You have all these festivals that take place in the area itself. I mean, I'm sure you probably visited a few yourself. Talk to our audience about what sort of festivals and who comes and performs there.
So we had celebrities like Coldplay, Alicia Keys, Black Eyed Peas. Wow. I mean, you name it. And this winter, actually, we have more and more that are coming. Okay, this is also a big factor. I mean, think about a community like City Walk. You have Coca-Cola Arena,
Yeah.
you know? So this is actually a question that we get. Are the festivals going to be a plus or a minus in my community? Look at communities that have these concerts and events. It is always a plus.
Of course.
City Walk, huge demand. Downtown with the Burj Khalifa and all the shows that happen over there, huge demand over there.
Yeah.
So people actually, and proven track record, they like this. They like being in an active community.
Sure.
I mean, going down from your apartment, being able to visit bubble runs, cycling marathons, running marathons, festivals, concerts, events, comedy shows that are coming. So this is always going to be a plus for our residents, and you can see so many events that will be happening over this winter. Next year, a lot of news coming up as well. So
we'll keep our eyes peeled for that. I mean, I first time visited Winter Wonderland last year as well, which was absolutely amazing. I mean, I've probably never seen Expo that busy, even during Expo itself. It was just heaving, that place. But it really shows that, you know, when the weather's right, the whole city kind of gravitates towards that area. And that's just based on Winter Wonderland. So, I mean, what it would look like on a big stage with it's Alicia Keys or whoever's coming to perform, sensational, I'm sure. And I think if you look at it the other way, so when you talked about the reference to City Walk, I found that quite interesting, because the other part of it, when you said whether it's a plus or a minus, I actually thought when you said could it be a minus, is due to the traffic. Now, some people may argue, if they're living there for personal use, you know, do I want to then have the traffic because of that? But as we touched on already, it is completely pedestrianized, and it's already coped with like 25 million people during a 6-month period. So it's almost reverse engineered, built to withstand that amount of people coming in. And obviously when people, I'm sure, are wondering where do all the cars go, they kind of come in underground and kind of take you up to your own residential building, a separate parking for these events. Now that's all on the basis of Al Wasl Dome alone, right? And in addition to that, you also have the exhibition center, which we just had some new news about. Could you tell our audience a little bit about that?
The exhibition center is actually very exciting for Expo, because right now you have the Dubai World Trade Center happening there. And if you look at all real estate around the trade center, it does really well for short-term rental. I mean, the prices are crazy on a month-to-month basis. So once that moves into Expo City, you're going to have that big hike in price. I mean, I always say this, in my opinion, Expo will be one of the best communities for short-term rentals, hands down. You cannot beat a community that has all exhibitions moving to it, huge infrastructure already built, a big touristic attraction with entertainment, and the only community attached to the largest airport in the world by metro station.
That's crazy,
so
right?
that is gonna be huge. And with the exciting news, now 10 billion dirhams has already been announced as fundings for the expansion of that exhibition center. It's going to be the largest in the Middle East. All events are going to move there, and it's going to help us double the amounts of events that we have in Dubai today. So we already have a lot of events. I mean, Jaitek, Cityscapes, every day there's something to book, you know?
Shortage of events.
So imagine doubling that,
Yeah.
and the center of that is going to be Expo City.
Of course.
So a lot of exciting things happen, and whoever bought with us already, I mean, some of your clients, you know, they've been very excited about this news, because it's a no-brainer now. Appreciation is coming to that area for sure. If you have that much funding going there, 37 billion already, 10 billion going into the exhibition center, and more announcements coming up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you look at that as well from the grand scheme of things, it also relieves the traffic that is already quite intense around World Trade Center. So, you know, it's just all good news for the entire emirate, right? It relieves the traffic that's around that side, brings it all towards Expo itself, giving our investors who bought early doors, you know, some really good capital appreciation, yet some really exciting opportunities still available in the community. And I'm sure there'll be more as we draw into next year as well. So I just think if you encompass all of that and then throw in the Emaar managed mall, which is, I suppose, going to be launching or operating the next 6 months or so.
Yeah, so we do have the mall. So it's already built. We're just waiting for the opening of the mall. It will be Emaar managed. We have the metro station. We have the new Dubai Exhibition Center. So the new Dubai Exhibition Center is already there.
Yeah,
but the
course.
expansion from 46,000 square meters today, it will be 180,000 square meters.
Incredible.
Another thing, the airport. 260 million passenger capacity will be coming from
Amazing,
that airport, contributing, making Dubai the top 3 economic cities in the world. And you have Expo as the next stop from that metro station, a touristic attraction. 260 million passenger capacity. Imagine the traction that will come to Expo City as well. I mean, imagine you were in a different country. You drop down, you know that the metro is there. Why wouldn't I stop? Why wouldn't I go check it out? Why wouldn't I go, have a cup of coffee, have breakfast, go to the luxury restaurants that are there?
Sure.
So it is going to have a lot of tractions, and the white collar employees from Al Maktoum Airport, we're the luxury segment in the area. So you're looking at a different type of quality, different types of amenities, different types of lifestyle. Where will they want to live? They're going to want to look at Expo City as that white collar employee target market that we have there in Expo. So
and I think the offering here is very much targeting that, and you have the businesses and you have the commercial and you have the F&B and so on, but it almost gives you this different sense of community that I think is very hard to find in Dubai, a kind of balance of everything, as we touched on, a key ear to kind of sustainability in all the topics that we discussed, having the mall element, having the attractions in the Wasl Dome, having the concerts and so on. I don't think, and I've really struggled to think of another community in Dubai or any of the Emirates for that matter that literally encompasses absolutely anything and everything you could possibly hope or need in a single community. And I think that's very hard to come by. So I think whatever you're in the market for, there is almost something for everybody here, which is very, very rare to find. So the airport, again, I agree, is a huge pull to not only, absolutely Expo itself, but it speaks to the entire Dubai South movement that we're clearly seeing happening at the moment. And yes, you touched on it earlier on, but having even Palm Jebel Ali, not too far off from where we're located, the investment level that then speaks to the master planning of RTA and municipality and literally almost making it all really kind of come together because look, they're all different communities, but the infrastructure then lends itself to each other, right? Really making it kind of form and take place, kind of shaping the whole area, I suppose. So I think that's another big one. So Ayda, a question for you. What if I'm an investor today? I'm bullish on the area now and I get it. But what is the investment opportunity today? What do you guys have? What should I be keeping an eye on? If I came and saw you in the sales center, as I have many times, what should I be focusing on now?
Okay, so today we have our 3-bedroom apartments in Sky. So I think this is a really good opportunity for investors because we're still giving that 5-year post-handover payment plan. As we know, no developer keeps such a good payment plan for a long time. So having that opportunity, the fact that it's still available today is golden. I think people should really focus on these 3-bedroom apartments. It's great for resale. A lot of investors, a lot of end users will opt for these. We have a layout for everyone. We have our standalone villas, mansions, 5 bedrooms plus gym plus office. And we have our plots as well. So the plots, you can build your dream house on them. You can, if you're an investor, depending on your build, depending on how, you can sell it for the price that you find feasible, so you can really have really good appreciation. And the fact that the quantity in villas in Expo is very low today, the demand is going to be so high. I mean, every community is making thousands and thousands and thousands of villas, where the resale market is flooded with the same community or the same type of villa. In Expo, the types are very limited. I mean, you have a very small amount of townhouses, villas, standalone villas. We have 40 units from that type. Whoever is going to want that type in resale in the future will have to buy from these 40 clients or 40 residents.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a really good opportunity to have today. The plots, 24 plots only. Another great opportunity, very high in demand. And Mangrove was one of the projects we'd had with the 5-year post handover, Sky, and most probably we're not keeping it in the future. So we have a really good opportunity today for all of our investors.
I agree, and I think for the audience who are unfamiliar, so the Sky Residences payment plan is actually a 50-50. So 50% during the course of construction, and then you have 5 years to make the remaining 50%, which is an incredible opportunity.
Best payment plan with a government developer in the market.
Almost with any developer. Almost with any developer.
Yeah.
I've worked with quite a few boutique developers as well, and not many are competing with that.
Yeah.
So the mere fact that government developers offering it is something really special. And so what do we have coming up in store? What's the outlook for Expo over the next kind of 6 to 12 months, would you say?
Okay, so yesterday we had the announcement of the exhibition center.
Yeah.
That was huge. And this is just first of many announcements that are coming. We have on the 1st of October, very exciting announcement of the upgrade of the master community. And in the next few months or next month, we should expect a lot of news regarding Sidr, our next upcoming apartment building, and the last project out of the 3 projects in Expo Central. So at the heart of Expo, you have Mangrove, you have Sky, and then you have Sidr coming up.
Yeah.
So another very exciting opportunity for the next couple of months for all the clients that are looking into Expo. For the next 12 months, Expo's name is going to be known in the market for the sustainability, for the announcements that are coming from His Highness. I mean, just the master plan, they've invested a lot on the upgrade. So now everyone's going to realize how much funding is being put here. And as much as people know about Expo, I don't feel like many know enough, you know? I mean, right now in the podcast, I mean, we've said a lot of information, and I feel like that's why I don't feel like people know much, you know?
I agree.
So I'm glad that we're doing this so that people can always go back and forth, you know, because it does need repetition, it does need education, you know?
If I'm being full transparency, it took me a little while to get my head around it, because there's this overwhelming amount of information you almost have to digest, and you really have to understand the community in essence, what the attraction is, why people would choose to live there. You know, what does that look like as a value proposition, be it for investment or be it for personal use, and the connectivity side of it, the value of the airport, the value of all these kind of key pillars that make up the community. There's so much to get your head around it. And I always say this to both new investors looking at it for the first time, my colleagues, peers alike. It does take a little time to get your head around it, but I think once you actually take the time to understand it and digest this information, I struggle to find someone who doesn't see the value in it.
Exactly.
And I think what's really interesting here is it's not obvious to see any particular advertisements or kind of pushing from the developer side in terms of letting people know about the project itself, right? It almost seems to be a lot of organic growth and word of mouth. And the clients that have listened or agreed to actually come along and drive down to Expo, once they're there, the conversion rate for people who are seeing it for the first time to agreeing to purchase on day one is incredible.
Yeah.
And I think it's just once you go down there and see it firsthand, perhaps not be too opinionated at first, because perhaps it's a little bit of a curveball option to perhaps what you're used to. But once you do understand it, I think there's incredible value there.
You see different architecture that probably you haven't seen, not just anywhere around the city or the country, but probably anywhere around the world.
Yeah.
And just getting there, we always say that we don't have show apartments, we don't have just a sales center, we have a show community.
Absolutely.
You know, you hop on the buggy, you get to see everything we're talking. This is as good as off-plan gets.
Oh,
you know?
It's better, right?
I'm
it's
telling
exactly,
you, this is your view.
Yeah.
This is the community.
Absolutely.
These are the facilities, and we're standing in it today. It's not like it's in the middle of the desert.
Absolutely.
You are seeing the attractions. You're seeing the mall. It's not going to be built in the next 5 years.
Yeah,
The metro line is here.
Yeah,
you know,
I've used it myself. It works. Yeah,
it works. It's right.
It's
there.
been working for the last couple of years, right? So absolutely, yeah.
And if you see like a lot of things with off plan is this is gonna come. This is gonna happen in Expo. This is there. This has been announced. His Highness just said this about us and funded this towards us. You know,
and I think that's let's be really let's be really transparent here. With off-plan, there is an element of uncertainty, right? And it could be with all the will in the world, the developer plans to execute X, Y, and Z. And, you know, you often when you're buying a property from said developer, you don't really understand what the offering looks like in terms of the overall community. So they can say kind of a mall, but what does a mall look like? How many retail spaces? When will it come? You know, it's a lot of inshallah, it will be here in 3, 4, 5 years. And there's no real telling to that. But I think the real special thing here is, as you said, you go there and you can see it today. Even the exhibition center, fine, it's getting enhanced and it's going to be extended.
That's right.
But I've been to that exhibition center a couple of years ago, right? Like we've been there before. Exactly. So it already exists. Those restaurants I've gone and sat down and eaten at. You can go and you can give, and you often do give good recommendation of a place where you can go grab a drink. You know, it's a licensed community as well. So there's so many different elements that I think speaks to the uncertainty that you would otherwise get in a normal off-plan community, which you can take assurance from today because you can personally go and visit it. There have been so many fun facts and, you know, weird and wonderful things about this community that I think we could sit here all day and talk about. But one I always think is pure fun facts for me, but surreal water fountains. Before we go, please tell our audience about the surreal water fountains and, you know, the kind of people behind it. I think people are always quite blown away.
So it's made by the same people who made the Bellagio in Las Vegas and the water fountains in Dubai Mall. And the best part is that the music composer of the surreal waterfalls music is Hans Zimmer. So you literally, I had a lot of meetings where the clients, you know, they were like, oh, that's really nice. When you see it there on the mock-up, you don't realize. I'm like, you know what, let me just take you to the waterfalls, you know?
Yeah, of course.
Every single time we're there, you just listen to the music, you look at the show, you get goosebumps. If they have kids, they're running around in the water, you know, and it's every 30 minutes. Yeah. So somehow during the meeting, there's always going to be a show. You know, for the clients. So I went with your clients many times. You know, so it's breathtaking and it's a very beautiful feature in Expo. And starting 6 p.m. we also have shows in the Wasl Dome. Yeah. So every 30 minutes a show in the waterfalls. 6 p.m. onwards in the Wasl Dome. I mean, whatever happens, you're bored at home. Yeah,
there's always something to do,
you just want to get out for a bit. There's always something to do. You will never get bored.
Yeah, I can definitely speak to that. And I think when you do go in between, we've done the iftar there, some water fountains and so on as well. It is truly breathtaking to have that. You kind of go there and then think, wow, what would it look like to actually live there, knowing that you got all these things right on your doorstep. And yes, you know, like we said, people talk about downtown, but this is a downtown within Expo. It's incredible. It does take some time to get your head around it, but I'd urge anyone listening in, go and take a look at it. Have a conversation with your agent. It's worth speaking about and go and check it out firsthand.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ayda, thank you very much for joining us here. It's been an absolute pleasure. I walk away learning more every time we speak. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Rennie.